If being alone feels better than being understood, pause the video. Because this isn't about loneliness, this is about the rare type of brain that finally starts working when everyone else leaves. And if you've ever canceled plans and felt relief instead of guilt, this video isn't explaining you, it's exposing something most people never realize about you. There's a silent group of people in this world who don't dislike others, don't fear connection, and don't struggle socially. They just think clearer, feel deeper, and function better when they're alone. Psychologists spent decades misunderstanding them. For a long time, enjoying solitude was treated like a warning sign. If you liked being alone, the assumption was that something must be wrong. You must be shy, avoidant, insecure, emotionally blocked, one bad day away from fixing yourself. But then researchers asked a dangerous question. What if some people aren't withdrawing from the world? What if they're simply calibrated differently? In 2016, psychologists studying social motivation made a crucial distinction. They separated loneliness, which is painful, from something else entirely, the calm, confident preference for solitude. Not fear, not rejection, choice. And when they studied people who choose solitude, the results shocked everyone. These people weren't unhappy. They weren't socially impaired. They weren't emotionally stunted. They were stable, focused, creative, self-directed. In other words, the opposite of what society expects. Here's why. Your brain doesn't need constant stimulation to feel alive. For most people, interaction releases dopamine, noise, laughter, activity, energy. That's their fuel. But your dopamine system is more sensitive. You reach enough much faster. What excites others overwhelms you. Think of it like volume settings. While others need loud music to feel something, your system picks up nuance, subtlety, texture, meaning. So when the world gets loud, your brain doesn't light up, it shuts down. Solitude isn't emptiness for you. It's regulation. And that's why being alone feels like relief instead of boredom. When you're alone, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for deep thinking, self-reflection, emotional regulation, and long-term planning, becomes more active. You're not zoning out, you're integrating. This is why your best ideas don't come in meetings, why clarity finds you at night, why long walks feel like therapy, why silence doesn't scare you, it sharpens you. Psychologists studying creativity found something most people hate hearing. Breakthrough ideas almost never happen in crowds. They happen in solitude, in quiet. When the mind finally has room to connect things without interruption. That's not coincidence. Einstein worked alone. Newton isolated himself for years. Virginia Woolf famously said creativity requires a room of one's own. Maya Angelou rented hotel rooms just to be by herself and write. These weren't antisocial people. They were people who protected their cognitive environment. And here's the part that hits deeper. People who genuinely enjoy being alone often don't struggle with self-worth. They don't need constant reflection from others to know who they are. They've already spent time with themselves. They've heard their own thoughts, sat with their own emotions, processed instead of distracting. That's why small talk feels draining to you, not because you can't do it, but because your mind is wired for depth. Surface interaction feels like static. You don't want more people, you want more meaning. And crowds don't offer that. This is also why you're often misunderstood. From the outside, choosing solitude looks like avoidance. From the inside, it feels like alignment. You're not running away from connection. You're preserving the version of yourself that can actually connect well. Here's something fascinating. In cultures like Japan, solitude isn't pathologized. There's a word, hitori, which simply means being alone peacefully. Restaurants designed for solo dining, karaoke booths for one, entire systems built around the idea that being alone doesn't mean being broken. Meanwhile, in other cultures, eating alone is treated like a cry for help. That difference matters. Because when a society fears silence, it teaches people to fear themselves. People who like being alone figured something out early, that being constantly surrounded doesn't equal fulfillment, that connection without presence is empty, that solitude isn't the absence of life, it's where life gets processed. But let's be honest for a moment. Healthy solitude is chosen, not forced. If you're hiding because of fear, pain, or rejection, that deserves compassion. But if you choose being alone because it makes you calmer, clearer, kinder, and more grounded, that's not avoidance, that's self-knowledge. And here's the final truth most people never articulate. People who enjoy being alone are often the least desperate for validation. They don't need an audience to feel real. They don't panic in silence. They don't confuse noise with connection. They bring wholeness into relationships instead of hunger. That's why when they do connect, it's real, intentional, grounded, not performative. So if this video feels like it's describing you uncomfortably well, take that as confirmation, not concern. You're not antisocial. You're not disconnected. You're not behind. You're simply someone whose mind works best without constant interference. And the next time someone asks why you prefer being alone, why you canceled plans, why you didn't show up, you don't need a long explanation. You can just say, calmly and honestly, because I think better when I'm not surrounded by noise. And if they don't understand that, they were never the audience for your mind anyway.